I have been undergoing probably the most intense transformations that I have experienced so far. I made a video maybe 3 years ago trying to detail and map out my early stages of all of this. But I allocated quite some time to people because I was playing a role where I thought I was supposed to help fix. I thought all my dedication to self-development and personal development was being utilized in a manner where all parties were on the same page. I was outright delusional, and my way of viewing this world, I enjoy growth. I come from a place of confusion. So I was a mess, and throughout all of the self-created tensions and processes, I found stability, and I found peace. Two things that I discounted as not achievable. I don't want to say anything negative about my family because I don't want to stoop back to the level of confusion as if I do not understand who, what, when, where, why, how, all the factors that play into it, and stems back to a sense of identity. Generations prior to internet, global communication, access to information, unless one was introduced or was connected to the mysteries or the unseen, or that was brought directly into their awareness through dreams or any mystical experience that might have caused question, conformity might lead someone to associating identity with a religious belief system, with external factors because there's no internal locus of control, and many other things. I was the issue, I still am the issue in all of my own problems in my life because I create them. On that same token, I also learn from my creations, but through this process, I have understood that my own fear would make me want to control the external. But after being introduced to Edmond Wollmann's works and astrology and metaphysical understandings and bridging ancient understandings with modern psychology practices, what I thought was that's it, as I kept on introducing more and more information into my awareness, that this is a bit, what would drive someone to lash out? What would drive someone to attack? What would drive someone to fire a weapon? Fear? Pressure? What drives the masculine aspect to want to dominate? my sun is in conjunction with the fixed star Rigel. The Orion influence of all of the negative as well as all of the light is present within me. But through my own destruction, through my own recognition, I just will not conform to a system that requires people to... Everything's outside of you. Whether that's personal sovereignty, belief systems, like... My biggest shift came from recognizing that it starts from within. That allowed for me to zoom out. That allowed for me to... That pressure of not knowing, of not understanding or not seeing that everything has a purpose, and we are on our own journeys of remembering who we are. I thought it's just shedding layer after layer after layer after layer of who I thought I was, what I thought I deserved. My own need to want to help. That's innate. My need, quote unquote need, the adopted mindset that I had where I would put everyone else before me and sacrifice my own needs in the Pisces format of self-sacrifice and martyrdom. Through watching and observing behavioral models growing up, who also observed and modeled after behavioral models, patterns can be identified, and when those patterns become identified, resolution can be found. But in order to find that resolution, one would have to factor in contradictory perspectives that will challenge beliefs. And another thing, thanks to Edmond, 100%, this was key for me. On my journey, as I began to evaluate my beliefs and what would trigger spikes and what would cause me to feel fear and drive my behavior in certain ways, or everything along those lines, Edmond is fundamentally, so far ahead of the curve or perhaps our society has normalized to a degree a baseline level of it's okay for these constructs and structures to, it's normal to give away our power. Like, that is the societal trend. And people are cheering for it. during my process, where the grace for self-development comes in, when I didn't know, but I found key things that personally unlocked more expansive sight for myself, or brought clarity to scenarios where I was confused. I am a Gemini Sun, Aquarius Moon, Scorpio Rising. Those are my big three. I move with the wind. Finding stability and clarity through confusion and turbulence. I was not aware of the possibility of just as there's techniques to lift properly and have good form and not tear muscles, the strain at which I was trying to lift mentally with shit technique and bad form, I was unaware of the concept of that becoming something more manageable. I did not know a lot of things, and I still don't know. I don't know anything. And that's one of the techniques too, where I had to learn how to let go of my desire to have everything figured out, because once again, even relinquishing that control, to surrender to I did not know where to look to find the light. I did not know where to begin. I did not know about mental abundance, because I chose to be trained to see the world from a state of lack. Everything serves a purpose. And now we're here. And this process of understanding has been the most beautiful. The most incredible destruction of everything that I thought I knew. And it's placing trust in myself, something that was foreign to me. It's not for me personally. Let me also say, this is all from my perspective. This is my development journey. I am sharing my findings of journeying through the abyss. And everyone is unique, and everyone has their own processes and methods, and it is their own unique experience. So if anything resonates, learn, adapt, take, If not, please ignore. Tying back to Edmond's works, and when a society, and I say this, atheist, like I have that on, like rebellion, just I went to church every Sunday for a very long time. From going from that place of adopted beliefs and adhering to mental constructs and seeing the limitations that and rules that stem from that conformity, until now learning how to I had to slice and dice before I could find myself. And I'm still in the process of blooming and growing. It's tough. But as long as every step forward is a step forward, and there's no going back. Because to experience in full capacity the sight that was limited, the life that is compressed to a paradigm, and this is once again my experience, and there are many beautiful aspects about religion, but it is still fundamentally another layer to sift through before we realize that there is no middleman required to talk to God. This process of dismantling myself and tearing out the roots, I found God. And it wasn't where I thought it would be. The process I created for myself developmental tension. Now we're here. How do people understand that there are lanes? The introduction of information and a willingness or want to be better than the previous version, to grow, to understand. For me personally, the lowest hanging fruit was complacency and acceptance of conformity. But that led me to a split in myself. I believed that to be liked, to make money, to be accepted, all of these things, it required throwing on a mask, playing the game, blah, 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 blah. I betrayed myself. But now we're here. There's no going back. I personally have purchased many copies of Edmond Wollmann's works. The only author that I have purchased multiple copies of, because the solution to the core of, if you traced every root, stems back to identity, knowledge of self, and disempowerment. His works not only teach astrology, they literally, it provided a comprehensive, I don't want to, like, I highly recommend everyone checks out all of his works for himself, but I feel as if I got to see a map and got to slow down. I got to zoom out from a crisis state where it was, the walls are closing in and just everything else. The mental prison that I created for myself that I didn't know that I was in, I found the keys to that, which were also within. But to step outside of my own perspective, to detach from that version of myself, which was purely a consequence of not knowing myself, and now we're here. My Chiron is in my 11th house Libra. Social connection, my own doing. I burn bridges, I have built bridges, I have felt ostracized, I have felt alienated, I have, by my own doing, I close off walls, I build walls. But as I'm still even growing to this point, it all begins to fall, because all of that is driven from a lack of understanding. And another thing that because of Edmond's efforts, just consistently being a light, I got to see my own. People conform to trends and ideologies, and people like connection. We are humans. I can only say this about myself. And I found it out through the process of solitude and going within and cutting off the noise, just dedicated to, I'm gonna figure me out. Solitude allowed me to find connection within myself. I find myself walking around smiling, just I was dependent upon the approval of others. And that set how I felt about myself. And it's all just I don't know who has a plan for humanity. I don't know if our leadership, if our government, if our constructs truly support the blossoming of the unique expression of every individual in the divine format that they came to be. The generations warfare is going to get nowhere. What drives the need for conquest and warfare? Now, what happens if people were to realize that power is within? What happens to all fear-based mechanisms and behavior stemming from fear? Psychological terms, definition, narcissism, or any quote-unquote, not going to even say that, disorders. Where are these definitions stemming from? Well, how can, what behavior indicates internal struggling? I have yet so far to find something that doesn't, like, any tension, whether it's, you know, just any of my problems seem to go away, not go away, but became more manageable as I understood myself and where I was placing my energy and focus. Becoming aware of my unconscious behavior. If abundance is tied to self-worth, self-knowing, I can get that. All of my shit was driven, yep. But as I began to trust myself and push myself into doing things that I didn't think was possible for me, I got an app onto the App Store. It's called AiAstroPro. It uses brains that have different specialized metaphysical subjects that you can talk to. I have the upcoming Astro Portal platform releasing, which is the brains and Grok and more extended features. And if I didn't believe in myself or follow my heart, those things would not exist. There are lanes. It's undeniable. It's just a matter of everyone has their own free will to make their own decisions, everyone's living in their own world. How do we, as individuals, find what is beneath all of the differences? What are the threads that connect all of us? Do we truly understand our actual history as humans on this planet? Because a lot of these divisive beliefs and these constructs, I just have one question. the humans that lived on this planet before these modern ideas became staples for people's lives, how would those people in the past, where these ideas that divide us and separate us and drive our egos to butt heads, those were pretty recent. And if you really look at those, a lot of them stem from control. So how do you transcend that? Personally, I like to learn, I like to understand works that I'm grateful, and I would like to share all of the resources and all of my findings and everything else along with that. Because the level at which I believed in myself, viewed myself, saw a future for myself, all I saw was darkness. But there's a drum that beats, and there's a flame that will never be extinguished. And to now find at least the beginning of something beautiful. There's nothing else in this world. We're missing a lot of shit. It's all here. So it's just a matter of allowing authenticity to grow beyond the doubts, to allow for expression, whether I'm projecting right now or not. There are many who may not have the information or the understanding to know that it is in fact possible to keep going and to grow, and there is more than what we thought we knew. This process of destruction and awakening for me, I created it for a reason. Looking back at it, I realized it could have been understood better prior to. But then again, that process is, I could have understood the mechanics more of what was going on, which would have allowed for me to find more peace in the process. Just never stop moving. I didn't know what love was. We found it.